today is a special one. As you can see, we are ready for war. We got the war paint on, and your feelings because after the debate, Kamala gave 0 Fs about Donald. So to get into it, let me introduce my wonderful, wonderful host. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Ebs. And I got brewing in my cup today some wine, and I kind of had to make it an extra
It's befitting. Yeah.
Gulp of wine. So to my lovely host, Duell, what you got over here in your cup?
Well, happy hump day, everybody. So in this cup, I have a mixture of Tennessee whiskey, the Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey with a little bit of cherry Coke. It's been that type of week, so since we're about to get into the shenanigans, I need something hard to brew on this week.
I heard that.
Really get into the shit.
I heard that. Hey, what you got over there, Dr. Dre? What you got in your cup? What you brewing on?
I don't have a cup of anything spectacular. Just one second. It's just water in here because I have a bit of a headache from all of last night's pure nonsense. So I thought I'd see if I can get rid of it via the glass of water.
Hey. So speaking of the nonsense, today let's talk about that debate. Let's get into this. Will be our recap of the 2024 presidential debate, and I am dying to get your guys's what did you guys think of last night? Wasn't it insane? But I need to know what was going through y'all heads. I know we were texting back and forth like we cannot believe this, but how was y'all feeling about last night?
I mean, the first thing that I did was got on DoorDash and checked to see if feline was something new on the menu. I didn't find it. I didn't find it. It wasn't on there under any of the different kinds of food available to us on DoorDash. So maybe the city manager was correct. Maybe the reports were not correct over there in Springfield. No big deal.
Right. They're taking all the cats. Got it.
Oh. Maybe I ain't had that type of cat since high school, so I've been cat-free since, obviously. So we don't do cats over here. I don't know what he was talking about, especially after want to make statements like that, being the main one to grab cats.
Some cat, okay? That part.
I think he should have went over with his team about what he shouldn't have said, because that statement is going to live rent-free in people's minds for a long time. And I hope it lives rent-free enough for y'all to vote the right way.
Amen to that. I mean, just the fact, I almost lost my shit when I heard him say, they're eating dogs and cats. And it took me back to another racist bullhorn of pinning one against your neighbor against each other. Really? Cats, to even, I couldn't even imagine what his team was thinking when he said it, when it came out. It was just, he was just waiting to say it. That was just the only thing he could. They're eating cats, they're eating dogs. And it's just are we really, is this 2024 and we're still, using those racist terms racist terms to identify a group of people who clearly are coming here just to work. And I heard that the story wasn't even about a nation. It was in another part of Ohio, and it was a woman who was Black, who was American, who was born here and was off her rocker and was on drugs, had a history of mental illness. Yes, she did eat a dog. She did eat a cat, but completely different, to say, so what, we eat cats? She was American. So I don't get it.
It was very pointed, that statement. And I was like, people have made claims like that toward a specific group of people. And I felt like his statement was very pointed. and it basically showed you what type of person he is, and he can care less about people of color, period, to make a statement like that. And on top of that, that offends people who are pet parents.
Yeah.
I'm sure PETA is having a field day with this, like a
Oh yeah.
complete field day with this. That you're a person that decides that he wants to run for office is making a statement about the cannibalism of pets, and there's, I mean, people don't play about their pets, but
Oh,
the
I
fact
sure don't. I will
that
kill
we know
somebody.
you don't, we
I
know
will.
you don't,
I will kill somebody over my
but it's your
baby.
baby,
My
it's your
baby.
baby. But he's just in a state of senility that I'm like, I mean, we were talking about it last night. We were having a whole full like field day. I know I was like yelling at the TV, and it was a spectacle. But the thing is, that was just one of the many statements that I'm sure we're going to talk about in a second that he made throughout this entire presidential debate. Like, this was one that you didn't necessarily want to miss. Like, if you're not one to who have not necessarily sat and watched a debate, this is the one that you want to see. This was
Mm-hmm.
definitely an epic showdown for the
Mm.
ages. Let's get into it. I know Dre got his notes. Come on, Dre, with the notes. I know
Yeah,
you got.
come on, tell us your points last night. What you got?
What was funny to me is that I was watching the pre-show before the actual debate on NBC, and Greg Craig came on
Mhm.
there talking. He was just, I don't know why I turned it on right at that point, it seemed like, and he was just cracking me up with this statement. He said, Kamala is the quarterback of Team Normal, and Trump is the four-star general of Team Crazy. And that had me just when I was like, I said, okay, okay. And he said it with such nonchalance that it just flew off his tongue, and I was in the background just crying, laughing. And I know the people on there too were doing the same thing, but they were hiding it. I know they were hiding it. But that was, I mean, I feel like that just encompassed the entire thing. Trump was being incredibly crazy the entire time. He was at the beginning, he was a little reserved, but as soon as Kamala pulled her, said whatever she said to get him riled up, he
Start
just
talking
continued to
about the
be
crowd sizes. You
right.
don't mess with him and his crowd sizes. And it's
As
almost like if you watch her, she knew exactly where to push the buttons. Hence, F your feelings, because she didn't care. She
right.
pushed him and he just let it go. Like no containment whatsoever.
Exactly. And she knew, her team knew, she knew, everybody knew that if she just pushed one single button, he would explode. Because that's the kind of person that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Egomaniac.
But
He's an egomaniac. What do you expect?
indeed. But it started off, I mean, the first thing that I saw was when they both came out on the stage and he started to go directly behind the podium instead of shaking her hand. She
Mm-hmm.
had to go
Mm-hmm.
around in front of her podium and then back behind his just to get a handshake. And he didn't even look at her when she
Mm-hmm.
shook the hand. And I said, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here? There's not even any cordiality going on. You just want to come up here, look crazy, and then leave. And that's what you want to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
He loves
I
the
took it.
celebrity of it. He likes to be a celebrity, and he's not a politician. He's a celebrity trying to be a politician. And the thing is, I saw that too, and I was like, he has no respect for women. Period. He has no respect for people of color. Anybody that he feels is beneath him, he doesn't even need to acknowledge them.
Mm-hmm.
He was like that with Obama and and
Mm-hmm.
and former President Obama, former First Lady Obama, Miss Obama. He's been like that. We've known he's been a racist. He's a
Mm-hmm.
racist. He's a bigot. It is what it is. He and I know Ebony. I know you itching to go on to this because I know exactly what you were alluding to as far as him being a completely non-feminist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna let you do that because I'm not gonna go into it because, like I said, as one of the women on this panel, you could talk about that. That really pissed me off,
Yeah,
especially
I think
that section.
the lack of respect that he had for her and just how he's been disrespecting her credentials and saying she doesn't know anything and that she's not smart. And I just don't think he really knows what to do with a woman of her caliber. And it emasculates him to be in the same space as her. I think that's why she was able to so eloquently bring him down to the size of his hand. She, and knowing what we go through, just as Black people go through on a day-to-day basis with people like that. But to see it play out, that pissed me off. Even when he went to, like, she had said something, and he's been cutting her off and chiming in, and she did the same thing, and it was like he tried to reprimand her like a child. Like, I'm talking, but it was just so you could tell she was getting under his skin to where, like, he was unraveling at the seams. But it's just to see that on display, and I think we get it because we know what we've had to deal with. We all have Black mothers. We all have someone in our lives who are a woman of color. And to see that go, like, it just reminded me of, like, damn, that's probably what my grandma, my mom had to go through in a space where there was white male men that would talk down, and it was sad to see. It was great to see, but it was also sad because it's like, how, as a country, we don't see this. And if we want to be better than what we were before, there's people that are still, like, even when they were doing the polls, like, they really didn't make, like, on the economy, like, his numbers were still kind of high up to where people just are so disconnected from just treating people with humanity that he can feel emboldened to do that on a stage and give zero shits about it. But she served him. She served him. She
Well,
served him like Serena Williams. She was about bow. And, and if I was still on the reserve because not knowing, I kind of lost my luster of this election just with the whole Joe Biden thing. I was just like, I'm just gonna just tune out. I'm gonna write myself in as a candidate. Being that I'm in California, I know we're gonna go blue. But then seeing her up there try to be what I remember, like, from seeing the Obama debate. Oh, this is what normality looks like. This is what debating was before we got into this craziness that, since 2016, that's been our norm. It took me back to be like, oh, this is normal. This is what a debate would look like if it was two people who were sane. But we have one sane person to remind us of, let's talk about you. And that's what I like. Like, she really was like, okay, he's going to say his lies, but let's talk about what we're going to do for you. What did you guys feel about her message? What did you guys think? Like, did you think that she may have moved the needle more in her favor, or it's kind of just, maybe she still has a lot more work to do?
I think she moved the needle more in her favor, especially when it got to the section about the protections of Roe versus Wade for women,
Mm-hmm.
the women's right to choose. She really got into his ass about that because, honestly, he's been against women's right to choose and abortions for a while. We've known that. And the fact
Mm-hmm.
that she drove it home and she was so passionate about it because she knew it. She gave examples of scenarios that are real life scenarios that women have to deal with in regards to getting access to care in
Mm-hmm.
those predicaments. A lot of women have um, to choose to undergo an abortion because of incest or rape or any other situation of that nature, and how they have to sometimes leave their own state,
Mm-hmm.
leaving your own state to seek care in another state, and not knowing if you're going to be able to make it there. And it's
Mm-hmm.
dire, and it affects people's lives. It affects families. It's not just a woman's issue. It affects a woman's marriage, her family. Everybody's affected by that. And the fact that she drove it, Kamala VP Harris drove it home, it made me understand that it's not really about her. It's not really about her trying to make a point in order for you to elect her. It's because she's a woman. She's a woman. She gets it. She's a
Mm-hmm.
woman of color. She's able to see She even mentioned the fact that my client is the people.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to, as a president, hopefully, as if she gets elected, is her focus is the people and what the people need. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about her.
Mm-hmm.
Because Trump is really about him. It ain't about nobody else but him. It ain't been about nobody else but him since the beginning. So I don't know why people acting like it's something new. He's always been about himself and protecting the 1%. But she's looking to represent everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody who don't fall under that 1%, who isn't, you know, his billionaire buddies who are funding his campaign. Everybody else is there's a more of a we're the majority. And I like the fact that she talked about how important it is for women's rights and to overturn the decision that was made against Roe versus Wade. I thought that was very clear, and she really got into them like that. Like once she got on that, I was like, oh, it's done. She's about to finish him because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, he's making it seem as if women and women of color don't matter. Their needs don't matter, and it is time for someone who gets it.
Yeah.
And and VP Harris obviously gets it. But that was
Yeah.
one of the highlights for me when she was asked that question and she responded and got in his face about that.
Yeah. What about you, bro?
Well, I agree with everything that Dwell said. VP Harris is definitely going to appeal to women, especially women of color. What I was thinking while I was watching last night, though, is that um, Trump is definitely feeding upon the fears of Americans. And while, like, let me just, for instance, when you are scrolling through social media, like most of us do, you see a bunch of shocking stuff, and you'll see those shocking things have millions and millions of likes and millions of views. But the passionate stuff, like caring for a cat or a child who was saved or life, something like that, those things don't have as many views as the shock. I think that while it doesn't move me, the shock and awe of Trump's um, rhetoric last night is going to appeal to a lot of Americans. And
Yeah.
it's sad, but
Yeah.
it's true. He
Yeah.
was he was being loud, he was moving his hands, he was talking about eating dogs, and that's what people are talking about right now on social media. They're not saying much about Kamala other than or VP Harris other than she was poised, she was correct, she was good, congratulations. But they remember eating the dogs. They remember all the things about taking the black jobs. They remember those things. And if those things are what's in the forefront of the voters' minds when they go to vote, it might not. I mean, that could be his tactic: scare the people, shock the people, make them remember me, so that when they go to check that name, they think that person was interesting, you know. And it's
Mm-hmm.
terrible, but once again, it is true. It's just how society is right now, and it really, really sucks. And that's what I kept thinking while I was watching this last night. I was like, is VP Harris coming off as weak? Are people going to pay attention to what she's saying? And I don't know. I don't know. And you know I'm from the Midwest, so we have. I mean, it's red states over there all day long, and the people that I know are going to be more moved by Trump's nonsense. I'm sure. I'm not behind it. I am a VP Harris supporter, but I can see how people will be on that bandwagon. I feel like it's going to be something like it's going to be really close. Like was it Trump and Clinton, Hillary Clinton, when it was like 50-50, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to refresh Google over and over again because I
Mm-hmm.
thought that when the votes were finally counted that it was wrong.
And I was like, nope, nope.
I said no. I said people couldn't possibly have voted for this man who was out here saying all these ridiculous things and being just absolutely foolish. But that was the demonstration of the American mindset, and that was just 8 years ago. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm conflicted about how people will vote. I know how I'm going to vote, but I am a bit afraid of putting a fear monger in power once again.
That part.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Dre. I think he's using fear as a tactic to get people to vote for him because even they said during the debate, like if he doesn't win, and I think they were talking about what happened on January 6th.
Hmm.
how when he didn't get what he wanted, then people went to the Capitol and caused a ruckus.
Right.
People died. Some people's stuff, lots of damage happened. So he's trying to say if he does not win, there is a possibility that something like January 6th could happen again, but on a bigger scale. And that's
Mm-hmm.
unfair because honestly, when it came down to him talking about the real issues, like for instance, VP Harris got into his ASS again about private health care and insurance. Now, mention people who have pre-existing conditions, like people like our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles who are of a certain age, who we love and we care about and who we care for, and how important it is to make sure that they're not spending their monthly retirement or social security on just the medication, and then if they're spending their money on the medication then they can't afford other expenses. She's saying that we were able to bring down, in her administration, we're able to bring down insulin to $35. You cannot, and people who have, those, asthma and things like that. So the thing is, he can't touch her on certain things. So the thing is, he's upset. He's going to use fear. He's going to use all this mumbo jumbo because that's the only tactic he has. She has knowledge as a tactic. She has experience as a tactic. She's been a prosecutor, attorney general, a senator. She's been
A
fighting
vice
all her life.
president, like every role except for a governor. But it's like she's been in every role that has been of service to the people. There's no private interest in any. When you become a public servant, it's only to serve the public. And you have some politicians who forget that. I don't think she's forgotten that. I think she realizes, look, and when they were talking about her position changing, yes, you can change your position, but your values can stay the same. I think as the times change, you have to change your position. You
Fine.
have to, you do. You have to be like, okay, you know what? I may have believed that then, but the people are changing. Their needs are forever changing. So I have to be able to change with them. And yes, my position that may have been in 2020 after listening, and that's what I don't think people realize. When you listen to somebody, I might have a position that I don't like the color purple, but then you can sit there and convince me, this is why purple is a good color. This is why I like purple. Purple calms me. I might be like, you know what? My position on purple has changed. And that is okay. We get stuck in this mode of like, you can't change. If you believe this, then you have to die by it. No, I've listened to the people. And I've said, you know what, my position is not in line with what the people want. So I have to change my position, but my values don't change just because my position does. And I wish they would have really talked more about that, or highlight that. Like, it's okay to have a position change. Like, we make it seem as it's a bad thing. And it's like, no, I might have thought something then, but I was educated. I got educated on it. And now I agree. Fracking, we can't get rid of it. We might have to find another way, but we can't get rid of it because this brings money to people's tables. So I'm not going to take away from even though I made a thought of that, but now that I've gotten the education behind it, I'm not going to take a food off of people's plates or off their table in an already community that's struggling. So yeah, I've changed my position on that. But that doesn't mean your values change. And I wish more politicians will lead with that. Like, yeah, you know what? Maybe my positions changed and my values haven't. And this is why the reason my positions have changed. It's because I've listened to the people. I've heard their what they need. And it doesn't align with my position. So I have to adapt and adjust for them because I serve them. And I think that's what she's doing, and I appreciate that. Even she was a hard attorney general when she was here, and I think people who aren't from California, they take those sound bites and think, oh no, she's liberal. No, she was pretty tough on crime when she was here. It took her being in the Senate to kind of change those views and be more lax on it, but it was having to see that the things have changed and what may have worked then doesn't work now. And I think she did she did what she needed to do.
Yeah,
I
she's very hard on crime. She's been really hard on crime, and especially she got like billions of dollars back to people with who had those families who had those home foreclosures and stuff like
Mhm.
that with the banks and
Mhm.
things like that. We said that before. Like, what else is she knows what she's done, and you can back it up. You can go and research and know that what she's saying is legit. Can you
Right.
go back and research everything that Trump has said last night, and go back and Google and do the notes like Dre did, and be like, okay, did he do this? Did he do that? No, all of it is
Mhm.
fallacies. You can go back and see what VP Harris has done over the course of her career, and the things that she's done to help better our community and better our world, and try to clean up the mess that was done before in the previous administration. She's done the work. And it's like, what else does she have to prove to people? What else? And I think it comes down to the fact, and I know I hate to say this, but it is what it is. Her gender, her race.
Mhm.
Period.
Mhm.
They don't want a
Mhm.
woman of color, which again, mind you, that was put in question. That moment where he was like, questioning whether she was black or not. I'm like,
Mhm.
baby,
Mhm.
Stevie Wonder, love him, to see that she is black and she is South Asian. She is. How many times have you photos? She has posted photos of her in her upbringing with her mother and her father. Duh.
Mhm.
Why are we still talking about this? The
Mhm.
woman is overly qualified for this position. What else does she have to prove to you?
Mhm.
And if you want to go backwards 4, 6, 8, 10 years, then go ahead and do what you need to do. But don't complain when you have the opportunity to hear both sides. And y'all, instead of going with normalcy, you went with chaos and confusion.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anybody got time for chaos and confusion? People are out of work. There's inflation. People's rights are being possibly being stripped from them.
They've already been stripped, and we don't even know what would happen in the next 4 years. If they were successful with just stripping, like how did we go from my mother had the right in her day to get an abortion if she wanted it, if she was living in one of those states, and now we don't have that. You get what I'm saying? It's like we're going backwards, and this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning of other things that are going to be stripped away.
Exactly. And there's a chance that, if we deal with Trump again, we may be thrown into another goddamn war.
Mm-hmm.
The audacity to talk about um how he is possible he can go speak to Putin and all them other people and settle the war. And she wasn't able to do that. When she said she'd been over there 5 times to talk to the president, the prime ministers and presidents and stuff over there to try to, work the situation out. He
Mm-hmm.
uses fear and all of that and his connections with Russia as a thing, like he's the only one to broker peace.
Mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
said that Russia was scared of him. So how is he supposed to, after saying that on television, go over there and say, "I know that I said that you were scared of me, but I need to talk to you about some things." They're gonna come at him with a whole fresh knife. I
Mm-hmm.
That
can
Mm-hmm.
see that right
I know
now.
we
China too.
that wore my wig out. That wore my wig out. I was like, I can't. How you gonna be friends with somebody and then tell them that, oh, you scared of me? So I'm the only candidate y'all got that can go over there and broker peace. No, you cannot. They looking at you like a joke. You're a joke.
She
They
said that
tolerate you
too.
for entertainment. They don't do
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
stuff to us because you're entertaining from them. So they're distracted by the facade
The
that
chaos, and that we are going to it's like that. Okay, even though all these people who do not fuck with us, do not like us at all, they see him in office, and it's like, oh, they're just going to destroy themselves, and he'll make it weaker so we can just come over there and take over and start war with America. um he definitely doesn't make us safer, even though he thinks he does. Because
no.
they're looking at, like, well, we're a laughing stock. I remember right when Trump was elected and we were overseas, and the first thing the cab driver asked us, "What's wrong with you guys?" That was that's literally there. He was like,
What's
"What is
wrong with you
wrong with
guys?
you guys?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I've unsubscribed. I don't." I don't know. It's in a whole different reality because it's baffling that someone with this level of non-experience in serving people can have the highest job in the land, and then we're now looking at, okay, technically he is convicted and that's still okay. So I just, I don't have that much faith in a lot of my fellow Americans because I don't, I don't know. I do like you, like there's people who are like, oh, I want to go back to when he was in office because my pockets were fat. $2,500 that you got from, from the stimulus, that's enough to say let's go back into the trenches of uncertainty, or is it because you think that we'll have another pandemic and you can do some illegal stuff with those PP loans like people have been doing? It's like what's really like what really is it? Because
I
I
had a sip
mean,
on that one.
I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna sit there at this point and say, you know what, my fats were my pockets were fatter when Trump was in office. Were you a small business owner saying you have 25 employees and getting those loans that you didn't have to repay?
Speak on it, sis. Speak on it.
You know,
Fraudulency. Fraudulent.
was it easier for you to get away with defying the government? Because that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, that can't be your only reason to think that you had $2,500 that you got, or 12 altogether, because it's like 1,200 and 1,200 that you got. That was enough to say my money, my pockets were fat. It only comes out to be like your pockets were fat because you was cashing in checks. Like that's why. And I mean, if that's your argument, then okay. But even looking at like the polls and seeing that a lot of men are still, are rooting for him, I'm just like, we all have mothers, and I'm sure there's a lot of men out there that are parents that have daughters, and it's like, you want to tell your daughter you voted for somebody who's taking your rights away, your
Right.
right to choose about your own body. Like, why can't we as women, or anybody, have the right to choose over what we choose to do with our bodies? And how is that okay? Like, I get people's belief, and that doesn't mean your beliefs change, because that's, if you believe in pro-life, that's your right. But how can you infringe on somebody else's rights who doesn't believe the same things as you and say, well, I don't care that you don't believe what I believe, but I'm going to fix it to where you have no choice.
Yeah.
And that's just disheartening for me. Like, I think of, like, if Jesus was here, what would he say to this? Making these choices for people when, that's just, I don't believe that's what our God stands for. And I don't believe that's what, you know, we're not being kind to our neighbors by forcing what our beliefs down their throat.
Exactly. He's pandering to those specific groups. Like I said, especially when it comes to the protections of women's rights, I think he's pandering to, certain people within certain religious communities, especially like half Catholic folks. They don't believe in certain, prophylactics. They believe everything is natural, whatever is God's will happen, and that's all great and good. But if we think about it, he is pandering to certain groups that believe that, and they're listening to that, and they're going to vote that way he because of things that he's coming out of his mouth and saying.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily believe half of the shit that comes out of his mouth. He's saying it for a purpose, to get reelected. He can care
Mm-hmm.
less about anybody else. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Because like I said, it's like, people forget that, yes, y'all might, and James Brown said this a long time ago, rest in peace, James. But yeah, he said it was a man's world, but it would be nothing
Mm-hmm.
without
Without a
a
woman.
woman or a girl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying, how you gonna come into this world without a mom? Everybody got a mom.
Everybody.
Whether you are connected to a mom and whether you have a relationship with her after birth or not, everybody has a mom or considered a mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Y'all forgetting that it starts with women and it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
end with women. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, how you gonna have a kid without a woman?
What's gonna happen is we're gonna be like, you know what, we're closed. We're closed.
Right.
That was
You guys,
your
until
six strikes.
let it die out, and y'all will figure it out. Because you know what, if we decide that, you know what, all right, you're gonna take our rights away. Guess what? We're just not gonna have children at all.
They about to do like they
It's
did
gonna cease to exist. America's gonna. We're already down, like they were saying, like a birth rate's down. And, obviously that's for multiple reasons. One being everything is too expensive. But it's like, okay, just that's it. Let's just go on a strike. Like, you can't have children without us. So you're making it harder. So why not just not? I mean, you guys will die out.
I was
you
Go
know,
ahead,
actually
sex
looking
strike.
into.
Come on, sex strike.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, y'all.
I'm not here for the sex strike. Let's be clear.
Well, I don't think that affects you, darling. I don't think that affects you, darling.
He's like, no, no such thing.
No,
I was
I'm
actually doing some research about emigrating out of America just because of the nonsense that's going on here. And it's like I was looking at the numbers. It was something along the lines of like 30,000 people per year over the last 10 years have left America due to the nonsense here. It didn't say any specifics. It just gave like people are leaving because of situations that they don't feel like America is dealing with properly, and they're going to South America and like a lot of Latin countries, actually, South American countries, Spain, and then the islands. Of course, you can retire to all those places, but people are picking up and getting out of here.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're somebody that's traveled, I think we spoke about this before at one point, but if you're somebody that's traveled, you know that there are better places than here. We grew up here. We know what it's like here. We hear that America is the best country, and people that come from other places believe the same thing. But a lot of times when they get here, they're like, wait a minute, this place is not like they said it was on TV, and they head right back.
hmm
Okay? So,
hmm
Yeah, we
mm,
want to
Yeah.
go back to that one episode y'all talked about. Y'all was going to Kenya. I'm still going to London, or Greece, so we can figure out something when we
Yeah.
I
get
mean,
together.
we got
But
planes.
yeah, we got plans. We got summer plans, summer fall
Right.
plans.
And
We're
once you get over there, it's a lot cheaper to fly back and forth. Like when I went to Greece, it was only, I think, the trip we went to Egypt to get the plane because it was cheaper. It was like, at the time, I think it was like $97 for us to fly from Athens to Egypt because it's just so close. And so it's like once you're there, it's easy to get, like, to hop from country to country. When you're in London, you just take a train down, to Italy, France, Germany, Amsterdam. All those places are within train distance. So it's like, oh, okay, it's not that. It's way easier to get around.
Mm,
dude,
that's
we have to consider that. We might have to
I
go
mean, we don't know what's gonna
international.
happen. Right? We don't know. We don't know. I got my passport ready. I gotta actually renew it. Uh, but
Maybe, maybe.
mine too. Mine
Yeah,
expires in 6 months. I think I gotta go get that done
oh
soon.
yeah, because
I
you
mean,
don't know.
we
You
can
don't
go
know.
together. We can get ours updated. Cause shit, I'm tired. I'm really considering, go ahead and be remote. Just be
Right.
remote
Yeah.
in
Right.
that
Yeah.
sense. Because at this point with this election, we have somebody who is qualified, but the only thing is that threatens that person from being elected into that position is the fact there's a lot of backward thinking folks who believe that women should not be in power, especially women of color, and that's going to be her hardest feat because
hmm
you have those people that just are they are stuck in their beliefs, and like you said before, as you know, we're changing.
hmm
We have to go with the change. And
hmm
she's the only person at this point that gets the change that we're going through. We all have to change, whether we like it or not. Some people, and sometimes we got to leave people behind. And some of those people who believe in what he's believing, we need to let them do what they need to do. But most of
Mm,
us, hopefully, this debate has woken people's minds up to understand that if we choose to go backwards, because like she said, we ain't going back. If we choose to go backwards, it's our undoing.
hmm
It's our undoing.
hmm
that's-
We can't blame it on anybody else but our undoing. So, like I said, all we can do is continue the conversations that we're having and speak fact, not fiction. Speak fact, because other people want to speak fiction and turn it into fact. A lot of the numbers he was coming up with, the facts and figures, you can't look that up. That's all in his head. You can see that.
mm,
You can see his mind working under that bad dye job he got. That's the person who should have got fired. It is the person who did that die job. Anyway, tried to go so he could see down with the people. Girl, bye. Anyway, y'all feel me on this. I feel like the debate was the determining factor. Either you're going to go red or you're going to go blue. Period. I don't think anything else after this. I mean, there'll probably be a vice president's debate,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the one that really I think would get to the point where we can decide which way we're going to go, which way we're going to lean. And like I said, even though me and Dre are in a swing state,
So yeah,
I
that's what I want to ask you guys about that. Like being in a swing state, what's the climate like there? Like, what are you hearing? You know, with your ears to the ground, what's the life over there?
Personally, I don't hear much. I mean, I am surrounded by my family most of the time, and it's mostly women, so they're, VP Harris all the way. I haven't heard anybody really say anything otherwise. I feel like sometimes people think that if they do say out loud that they're going to vote for Trump, they know that it's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, like I feel like they think that they're going to do it because they like the shock and awe, they like the fear mongering, but they also don't want to say it out loud. They are representative of him because, like we were talking about earlier, he sent people to the Capitol on January 6th, but he didn't show up. You know what I mean? He's gonna people out here are gonna say I'm gonna vote for him, but they're not gonna say it out loud. They're just gonna go and do it and then hide behind that curtain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to judge anybody who is voting for him. If that's your decision, that's your decision. But
yeah,
it's also the wrong one. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. How about you, do it?
yes,
What have you
friend,
been
you said
hearing?
it best. Because honestly, like for me, there are people like Dre said who will talk all this, and then we'll go to the polls in a couple weeks and vote the other way, and then complain about
Mm.
why. And then when that happens, if that happens, then they will complain about it. I'm like, well, you had a choice of a vote. The same thing with the people who don't vote. I'm gonna be honest with you. My dad, I love my dad. If he's watching, I love you, Dad. But I appreciate you and for a lot of us who grew up in this time, all three of us, we grew up in around the same time. Voting is a big thing in our house, especially being people of color. And when you don't vote, you don't have a voice. You don't have a chance to have an opinion because it's like this was your opportunity to have an opinion. And you chose to do something else instead of going on November 3rd and putting your vote in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a sympathy for you. When things
Mm-hmm.
go left, when inflation goes up and the economy crashes and people's rights get taken away and you can't afford your medication, you voted that way, so deal with it. Deal with the consequences. You had a choice. You had that time, whether it's at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, to go to the polls and let your voice be heard, to be knowledgeable about the platforms. Because it doesn't just affect one group, it affects all of us who gets elected. Because those are the people who are in power. Those are the people who make the decision on our behalf. You want somebody who's going to look at you and see your life and acknowledge your life as something that matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
In
amen to
order for
that.
you to feel like you matter, your voice has to be. We only have one vote every 4 years. That's it. So anything that happens after, it's your fault because it's like you didn't take the time to look at the debates, to research your candidates, to look at the platform, look at the issues. We get so wrapped up in social media, we get so wrapped up in our own lives that we don't understand that politics is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
Life is still happening. It's a struggle right now. People may not tell you how much they're struggling, but it is a struggle right now.
Oh, it's a struggle.
It's a
Oh my
main
gosh.
struggle.
Yeah.
And I think
Everything's going up.
people of color are struggling, but it's a struggle for a lot of people. Student loans. They touched on student loans. People still paying for their student loans. They've been out of school 20 years, still paying on
Hmm.
student
I am
loans.
one. Yeah. Yeah. Waiting for a break, just praying for some type of break.
Praying for a break. Praying
For a
for,
break.
Sally made us get off my neck. I'm tired. Shit. I'm only making $20 an hour, bitch. What else do you want? Shit. Eggs is high, milk is high, meat is high. Shit, all the shit I need is high. Hell, I
I
should
know
be
the last
high
time,
at this point anyway, just to get through all the shit.
right? I don't know the last time I had actual milk. It's so
Girl,
high.
what are you talking
I
about?
had
We all
I
transitioned to
drink
oat milk.
almond milk.
Oat milk,
Yes, almond.
almond milk, half and half, just to get by. I ain't had a whole cow in about 15 years because it's so fucking expensive to eat a fucking cow and to get the milk from the cow, okay? I'm lactose because I'm trying to save. Y'all laugh because it's true. Because when last time y'all had real ice cream? Shit.
Remember.
No, I've been eating frozen dessert. I don't know what that is, but it's not ice cream. I'll tell you that right now.
You know my testimony. I ain't lying up in here. Shit. This is what happens when you get a little whiskey and coke in your system. You start speaking the truth. I'm tired. And I'm speaking for the people of America. And you feel me. Y'all both feel me. Because nobody's gonna keep it real unless people like us keep it real. This is why we have this platform, is to keep it 100. And keeping it 100, those are people who say that their vote does not matter, that if it's better that I don't vote because they're going to do whatever they want to do. F you. I'm not going to say the word, but F you, because the thing is, y'all are the problem. Y'all not showing up the way that y'all need to show up. You're not knowledgeable. You're acting like these issues don't affect you. It affects everybody. It affects your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your friends. It'll affect your employment, because on top of that, we talked about race in the debate. That means if this person gets elected, that means whatever we would put, like the Crown Act and everything that was put place for people of color to not be discriminated in workplaces, will be reversed.
Mm-hmm.
All the work that was made, that the Obama administration did and the Biden administration tried to do, will be reversed. People of color, people who are people of color, people who are of the LGBTQIA community, women, anybody who is considered different or minority, their rights will be taken away. What are y'all gonna do? Half of y'all don't have passports. So it's gonna be a lot of mother effers on November 4th at the post office trying to get a post office to get the hell up out of here
Exactly.
before Christmas.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because as soon as January hit, it'll be like a goddamn spell has been put over the US. So please, people, this panel of friends and co-hosts are trying to do is we're trying to let you guys know your voice does matter. Your feelings do matter. Your life matters.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Please do, and go out there. However you decide to vote, just vote. It's not just the presidential; it's your Congress. Because I think a lot of people are looking for on his side are looking for him to win because they can get away with a lot more bills that he can just sign executively. It all starts at the level of Congress, and
Right.
keep, just keep your ears open to what is happening. People think the president has the most power. They don't, but it's the Congress. And if the Congress has the person in power who's going to just turn a blind eye and let them pass those bills and and put into law things that are going to affect your rights, then that's what it is. And again, VP Harris said it perfectly. I own a gun. I'm not going to take your rights away. And I think that's the thing that they keep saying. Oh, people on the left are going to take your rights away. No, we have that right to bear arms. And I am going to protect my Constitution to the %. Like whatever was put in that Constitution, protect it with dear life. And that means people's right to bear arms. But at the same time, you got to also be smart about it. And there has to be something in place to where kids aren't afraid to go to school. Like, I don't know what that fear is like. I mean, I was still in school when Columbine happened, but
No.
before that in elementary, I didn't have to worry about that. I had to worry about earthquake drills. I didn't have to worry about gun, you know, I didn't have to worry about gun drills. And just think about countries that are in war right now, like in what's going on in Israel and between them and Gaza, how those kids are in a constant state of mind of fear. Our children are now in a constant state of mind of fear, and we're going backwards. And before long, the country we love so much is going to be stripped away from us, and we're not going to recognize it anymore. So I just hope people think of that and get out there. We're going to have more discussions about that as it's coming, because things are heating up. Things are heating up, y'all, and just be informed. And even whatever a candidate says, if you're Democrat or Republican, just do some research to make sure what they're telling you is the truth, because we deserve the truth from the people who are serving us, and we deserve to know where their positions stand, and just do your research and talk to people.
Yes,
You know.
having uncomfortable conversations. I know politics can be a very uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people. People try to avoid it at dinner parties and at family gatherings. But at the end of the day, those are the places that it needs to happen, because the thing is, you have to be able to voice your opinion and let people know how certain decisions are going to affect you. Because, like I said, people don't know until they're enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to change hearts. It's possible to change somebody's mind,
Yep.
but at the same time, it's all about the approach. You can't be preachy. You got to come with facts, and you got to come with experience. That's all you can do, which is exactly what VP Harris has: facts, experience, and experiences. Like I said, she said she came from a lower middle class family who had to struggle to get her to where she needed to be. They didn't even own their home until she was damn near a teenager going into college. That was
Mm-hmm.
the first time she was able to be in a home. We don't know what she had to experience prior to that. Wouldn't you want a candidate that can relate and resonate to your struggles?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
someone who has access to make certain bills and pass certain legislation that can help better your life and the generations of your family to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want a candidate that I can relate to, someone who's looking after me and my future, instead of someone who is not focused on the people but focused on popularity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
need a politician. I need a leader.
Mm-hmm. Amen to
Well, there you
that.
have it. There
Amen.
you have
Yeah.
it.
And on that note, I think that is a good place to end this, because you spoke the truth to I think, yeah,
And
yeah,
we
we
all
want to,
speaking the truth. I know, Dre. What
um,
you got something to say before we wrap? You got something to say,
yeah,
Dre?
I did not know. You got it. You had it.
I don't know. I don't want to be like I'm preaching, but the thing is, sometimes you have a little liquid courage, and it hits.
sometimes you gotta go to church. Sometimes you
I
gotta
have
go
to
to
go to
church.
church.
You gotta
I
go to
might have to
church.
go ahead and get my ordinance. But the thing is,
Church.
what I'm trying to say is, you know, we have a freedom of speech. This is why we have a podcast. This is why we're together. Is because this is a podcast, a safe space where you can come and you can tell it like it is. We are your friends. We are your support system. And I hope that you don't look at this podcast as just entertainment, but it's also informative. Because, like I said, in order for us to have this platform, to continue to have this platform, we need to make decisions that allow us to have this safe space. Because if you go the other way, we won't be able to have this discussion
Mm-hmm.
on any platform.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be controlled by our government. What we say, what we do, where we go, everything will be monitored. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about the rights of women, the rights of everybody.
Everybody, because this all affects us, and it's not. It's there's. I feel like there's a bigger plan in place that's bigger than Trump. And it's to take us back, to control the minds of the American people, because honestly, there's some people here who really don't want us to be free. Only a certain sect want to have the freedom to say what they feel, whether it's divisive, whether it's hateful, um, fear, with underlying fear. And they want to be able to spew that at people. They want to keep some people to where you're thankful for, you're going to be begging for those low paid jobs. They don't want to see the progress of all Americans. Instead, it's just a certain sect that want to keep that power that they have over the rest of us. And it's just little by little, it's going to start tearing away. It's going to start tearing away. And not to, and I understand, and I try to listen with compassion. And I think if people listen more with compassion for others who opinions are different, I have family members who are on the opposite side of my views. And I try to listen to hear what it is they are saying compassionately. I don't understand it, but I try to listen. And it comes from a place of fear. It comes from a place of fear of the unknown, fear of what they grew up experiencing, and not knowing what does this look like? What does it look like to have a woman in power, a woman of color, in power? And we've never had that before. What does it look like? We have all these people coming into our country, and they're not being checked by the government. They're just being left out there to do what they want. What is that looking like for my community? And you start to, instead of looking at like, well, these people are coming from places where they don't have the opportunity that we at some point were all, except for us Blacks, we didn't get the choice to come here, but other people did come from other places to come here for a better opportunity. So, and it worked out fine. I mean, it's working. It's still a work in progress, but they were allowed in. So sometimes you just have to listen with compassion. And I invite anybody with a different view to come on, talk to us, because I think the only way we can come to a commonality is that if we listen to each other without the emotion of just thinking of the attack. What am I going to say next? But listen with your heart to really understand what, because a lot of people who do vote for Trump aren't bad people. And they aren't all don't believe in the rhetoric of hate that he does. But they don't know what it looks like to have someone different from what they're used to in power. And those are the people you got to listen to, because at the end of the day, they have families. They are dealing with the same things that other people are dealing with. But they're just a little afraid to take a walk on the other side and see what it's like. And you can't fault those people. There's a little bit of people who are, yes, really hateful, but that's not the majority of his voters. I've seen them firsthand. I've talked to them, and they're really kind people, but they just are being misled, and people are using the fear that they have, and they're using that to their advantage, and it's sad. It really is sad. And so I invite people to just have those conversations, uncomfortable conversations with someone who thinks differently than you, but listen to where their pains are, because we all have pains. We all want the better for ourselves, for our families. We want to be able to put food on our table. We want to be able to pay our bills. We want our government to work for us. We want our government to start investing in us, not investing in countries abroad. Invest in us. Invest in what we can do, and that's not happening. But we want that. We should be able to be a thriving country. We are a number one. Our GDP outranks every other country. The people should be able to benefit off of that.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Amen. Amen.
And on that note, y'all, we're going to have this conversation again, I'm sure, because it's getting hot. It's getting hot, and it's getting crazy.
It's getting heated.
It's getting weird on one side.
Yes.
Very
just,
weird.
It's getting real culinary.
It's getting real hot. Protect your dogs and cats, y'all.
Because they eating everybody out here. Hide your kids, hide your cats.
Hide your kids, hide your wives, hide your husbands, and hide your pets, baby. They out here for everybody.
Oh man, so thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Brooklyn Banter. Please follow us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at Brew and Banter Podcast. We love you guys. And again, we welcome anybody to come here and just talk to us as a special guest in these next coming episodes before we wrap up our season. To just let us, especially if it's a different opinion of ours, please DM us and maybe we can have a good hearted conversation. And yeah. On that note, y'all, I'm out. We out. And we're gonna stay, just keep in tune on the next crazy stuff. Hopefully they ain't going around eating humans next, but I don't know.
Oh, not Hannah Blaster, not no cannibalism. Please, shoot. I love delicious, but y'all ain't gotta eat on it too.
Eat on it. Don't eat on it. Don't eat on it like cook, All right. Bye, y'all. Take care.
Bye, y'all.